My name is Abby Rolland. I'm a fellow at the Patterson Foundation in Sarasota, Florida, and I am here with 5 wonderful people to talk about This Book is Cool, which was a new program instituted this summer of 2020 by the Patterson Foundation and the Suncoast Campaign for grade level reading.
When the pandemic hit, we knew that everything was going to change, that our summer providers would have limited capacity, that many families would not be able to afford to send their children to summer camps or might not be comfortable sending their children outside of the homes. And we knew that we needed to do something to keep the children motivated and engaged in reading throughout the summer. So what started as maybe we could do a few videos turned into 100 videos that were targeted for children pre-K through grade 3. Each one of those grade levels, we had 20 books that were selected to be featured. And through the generosity of the Patterson Foundation, the children who participated in This Book is Cool from their homes were given 20 books to read and put in their home libraries over the summer. So it was quite an undertaking. I don't know that any of us really realized how much work it would be to put together 100 episodes, but I can speak on behalf of myself and the children, more than 5,000 children that participated this summer. I'm awfully glad that we did do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, 100 books, that's a lot of books. How did you go about selecting them?
It was a committee. In fact, Jen, I know you were one of the members of our selection committee. What do you remember about the process?
I was. I remember being on a Zoom call just like this and saying, we need 100 books, 100 quality books, quickly. And as you know, my kids are in college, so it's been a while since I've had those elementary books. I also facilitate Mind in the Making for the Patterson Foundation. So that was my starting point. They have a beautiful resource list of books that tie with the 7 essential skills every child needs, and that was my starting point. And then I tapped into some of the librarians that I know, some elementary and preschool teachers that I know, and that was my starting point to get a nice list of books to contribute that also were meaningful and teach lessons to kids on life skills so that they get a lesson with the story.
Yes, so not only was Jen a member of our committee, but we had many committee members, and each one of them was asked to submit a list of books that they would recommend to any child. And we ended up with, I think, more than 200 books that were recommended, and from many different perspectives. There were sports books, and there were nonfiction books and fiction books, some books that were written quite recently, some books that were written decades ago. One of the books we did feature, Caps for Sale, just celebrated its 75th anniversary of being published. So we had quite a range of books, and the committee not only were people from our engagement team, but as Jen said, we reached out to friends in the community to ask them what books were meaningful for them. And then we cross-referenced. Jen mentioned the word quality. That was really important to us. So we looked at award-winning books, Caldecott-winning books, Newbery-winning books. We looked at books that had won the Coretta Scott King Award. We also looked for books that had been mentioned in scientific journals or had been lifted up in some way, that it wasn't just an ordinary book. We were looking for 100 extraordinary books.
So, extraordinary books. Let's dive into, I want to hear more about them.
My absolute favorite is Not Norman. This one touched me because of the reaction I got from the families, because I was also a liaison to the families reporting back to me. And it was also my favorite craft. So I have a little special place in my heart. It was a cute tissue paper goldfish with big puffy eyes. But the story that really hit home is a mom kept in communication with me. She said, now my son wants a fish. And every week she would report her books back to me. I'd say, did he get his fish yet? And it took about 2 or 3 weeks, and then came the picture of him with his fish. And this did come off the Mind in the Making list with perspective taking, of thinking he constantly wanted a different, pet, and also the communication, because he discovered he was actually communicating with the fish, that the fish was watching out for him and keeping him safe, and his body language, he could tell if the fish was happy or sad. So it just touched me on so many levels.
Mm-hmm. What other books were similar to that, or featured other kind of mind in the making skills or functions?
You know what? The Caps for Sale that Beth mentioned, Nate the Great was on the Mind in the Making list. The Carrot Seed, for all different ages, for all 7 skills. There was truly something for everyone. The great piece of that resource is if a parent is struggling with, their child is struggling with communication or perspective taking or focus and self-control, they can go right on that website and find a book that relates to that, instead of, you need to focus. Maybe read a story that deals with focus and track it that way.
To expand a little bit on Mind in the Making, just in case somebody watching our Zoom session isn't familiar with it. Mind in the Making was a book that was written by Ellen Galinsky about executive function skills. And not only did she write this book that has been a mainstay now in education circles, but she developed a series of workshops that adults can take that look at the executive function skills in themselves, and then how do we translate those to children. And as an offshoot of that, working with First Book, they put together these Mind in the Making tip sheets that go along with selected books. So that was a terrific resource for us, and something that we really took advantage of, because they were excellent books, and the tip sheets certainly helped our families, and helped us even select some of the activities that went along with the books.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ben and Laurie, as parents of a younger child who might be reading some of these books, what did you find in the books that stood out to you?
Well, we're parents with a 3-year-old, and she's amazing. But something that was really important to us was that really social and emotional intelligence, and learning those lessons, and that being a key factor in these books. And particularly right now, because she had a very social life before this, where she was engaging with other kids ahead of time. But then when the quarantine happened, she's not having the same relationships with children or adults. So to be able to have some examples in these books about, sort of how to create healthy relationships, and how to maybe deal with someone who you don't automatically get along with, and her kind of seeing those lessons and seeing that modeled well and poorly sometimes. And, sometimes those books, and then they, learn their lesson at the end.
Our focus for us was, books that helped foster or nurture self-esteem and self-confidence. That's a big takeaway, that it's something that can be taught. It's something that's learned. And, we want to make sure that our daughter always has a can-do feeling about life, that there's infinite possibilities, and that she can connect in any way to anyone and can do anything that her heart desires.
We wanted to make sure that children would be able to identify with the people and characters that they saw in the books. And that meant having diversity of experience in the books. So we had books that were set in urban settings, and books that were set in rural settings. We had books that were about real people. We had books that were about imaginary people. We had 2 books about narwhals, which was kind of surprising, but very fun. But then also making sure that no matter what we would describe our skin color as. You know, I talk sometimes about having, you know, a box of crayons, and no matter which crayon color you held up and said, you know, this is my skin color, that there would be a positive character in the books that would look like you. And that was very important, and not to have it only be about that. There are some wonderful books about the importance of diversity. The Color of Us was a great book that talked about different colors of skin tones, and that was wonderful. But we also featured books that the main character just happened to have a different skin tone than perhaps mine, and that wasn't what the book was about. It just was, and I love that.
That was very, very important for myself, because sometimes as I grew up in the 60s, and you know, I even remember going into the doctor's office and you see the magazines and no one on the magazine cover looked like me, or it wasn't a female, or someone that had long hair or lipstick on, or, you know, so I couldn't really identify. But with all of these books, not even knowing, like you're saying, the illustration in these books are different colors. So The Color of Us, she described it like caramel ice cream is my color, or peachy roses. You know, like you wanted to have a friend of every color, like you said, Beth, holding up that crayon box. Because I have friends and family of all shades, and you notice when it's missing when you don't see it in front of you. But these 100 books are so diverse, with someone that had autism, someone in a wheelchair, a story about Wilma Rudolph, she had polio. So it was just so engaging and so enlightening. And I thank the Patterson Foundation and the team for the committee for choosing that and having that close to their heart.
I too really enjoyed all the diversity, and not only the diversity of who the main characters were, but no matter what you like, if you like science, there were books for you. If you like sports, there were books for you. If you liked mysteries or dramas, there were books. If you were, you know, are more of a butterfly fan, or you wanted to learn, you know, about coral reefs, there were books that would speak to that. And I ended up learning so much from these 100 books. I loved that there were so many different choices, and I loved learning new things, and I just got a kick out of hearing from all of the families as they were learning new things as well.
I loved doing the activities. It was so great because with the books came an activity form, you know, things that would go along with the book and things that you had in your house. You didn't have to go out and buy anything. You could engage with your older brother or sister, your grandmother, anyone in the house could do these activities. And by the time the end of the summer came, you had a home, you had a museum. So going back to school, thank you, Jen. Like it gave you, the activity forms were so colorful in itself, and simple things. I was talking about Wilma Rudolph. There's a book about that, but having your own goal, like perhaps how fast you can make your bed, or go walking around the block. I know, Beth, you like to walk in the mornings, and you were setting a goal, how fast can you walk your 2 miles, but a goal for yourself. You weren't in competition with anyone else, or you could be in competition with someone else. So bravo with the activities.
The immense amount of gratitude towards the Patterson Foundation for helping them through the summer of, you know, the challenges they had of educating their children differently and working from home, many of them, and being in that teacher role and having this level of support was just amazing to experience.
And I think something really cool about this book is cool too. It's that it's kind of like almost like a little mini book club for like the families could kind of enjoy together. And I think, and it gave them conversations that they wouldn't have had normally, and activities that were really special. And I got so much feedback about how special that was, about how their son wasn't on his, you know, device for an hour and a half because he wanted to make the fish tank. And, you know, that was just really, really special, and the different feedback we would get of just the time reading with the book, that now this was a time that they're spending reading together, the families reading together. And I think there's that works on so many levels of just like creates a bond of being connected, but then that's also just a love of reading, which I think just then helps, and reading is the key to succeeding. So it's one of those, it just kind of keeps feeding itself. I just think that's a really beautiful thing about this project, and that I think has really have heard back from families that's really working, that their kid who was afraid to read before now really loved reading, because it's a time he got with his mom that, she's really busy because she's worked from home now. So it's a little different when and I think it's really special that really hit that home.
Yeah, I think not only did it create like a meaningful shared time for families and helped spark conversations, and a lot of families are looking for conversations to have around the dinner table, right? And this is something to talk about. That's cool. And I think it's beautiful that an entire family could engage in this conversation, all ages.
With Charlotte's Web, I think also it deals with some pretty heavy topics. And, Ben and Laurie, you mentioned the social emotional connection. And I love that the committee didn't shy away from books that dealt with real life issues. I think we as human beings learn how to be in the world by experiencing other people's stories, whether they're stories that are written or shared with us, in movies, or hearing the stories of our family and our friends. So I love that the committee selected books like Charlotte's Web that deals with heavy issues. A Bike for Sergio was another one of the books that really dealt with, a real life dilemma for a child and who had to determine what the right thing to do was. Or the infamous Ratzos, where, the boys wanted to be cool, and every time they tried to be cool, they ended up doing something nice for somebody else. So I loved that the books had that resonance, and that we weren't asking children to only feel one emotion during the summer.
To be able to see with my eyes what the kids were doing and how they were experiencing it and how much pleasure they were taking out of the experience, I dare anybody not to be filled with joy after that.
We work in the same office with writing partners, and so I can always tell when she got to that part of her day, because she'd start going, oh my gosh, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen. Oh, I love this kid. Like, you're just, and so I kind of have to come over and look at the pictures, and it was like such a shift in that moment when she started opening up all those pictures. It was really special. It was really neat.
How do you all think that intentionality and care and, children's reactions, how do you think that maybe impacted parents or really resonated with them this summer?
I think relief. Like, I think what started out as kind of a challenging summer, it was welcome relief, removed some of the fear that their children would fall behind, and they were a part of it. And it wasn't that they had to do the lesson plans, because it was right there for them. And I think it gave them a lot of sense of relief.
Mm-hmm. And the notes of gratitude that we received from parents, many of them spoke of the quality of the books and how they were surprised, which was a little heartbreaking for me, that they were expecting, perhaps because we were giving the books away for no charge, they were expecting something that would be of lesser quality. And they were so appreciative that the books were thoughtful selections, that they were high quality books, that they were brand new. So the children who participated in the program got 20 brand new books, and many of the parents expressed that they would not have been able to afford to do that for their child. So not only was the child excited, but the parent was excited by being able to experience something that they wouldn't have been able to experience otherwise. Well, I think that the committee, the selection committee, absolutely selected books that were cool. And they were fun for all ages, certainly fun for all of us. And I think our fun tripled or quadrupled when we saw how meaningful the books were for the children and the families who participated in the program. Not only the books that we provided, we did provide 20 books at the child's grade level over the summer, but we asked the children who participated in the program to keep track of all of the books that they read over the summer. And we had a little more than 5,000 children who participated this summer, and they read a total of 94,383 books.
Wow.
So,
Wow, that's amazing.
Yay.
Incredible.